ओम जय स्वाहा माता।
बोले श्री राजा रामचंद्र की जय। ओम नीलांबुज श्यामल कोमलांगम सीता समारूपित वाम भागम पानौ महासायक चारुचापम नमामि रामम रघुवंशनाथम। श्री सीतारामचंद्राय नमो नमः। बोलिए श्री राजा रामचंद्र की जय। We will join Pandit Umesh for a bhajan, after which we will go on to our discourse.
We concentrate on Bhagwan Shankar. Damarupani Shulpan Hinatarajan Namo 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 Damarupani Shulpan Hinatarajan Namo शीश गंग भस्म करते भारन नमो 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 दमरूपानि शूलपानि हेनतराजन तुम आदि देव अनादि हो, तुम अंतहीन अनंत हो, श्रीमंत हो भगवंत हो, हे नाथ गिरिजाकंठ हो, शशि ललाट तन त्रिलोचन नमो 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 दमरूपानि शूलपानि हेनतराजन निसार इस संसार में शिव नाम केवल सार है, शिव शक्ति है, शिव भक्ति है, शिव मुक्ति का आधार है। रोम रोम ओम हे अघनाशन नमो रोम रोम ओम हे अघनाशन नमो 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 दमरूपानि शूलपानि भस्म करते भारन नमो करते भारन करते भारन
बोली श्री उमापति महादेव की जय। Now, devotees, in Sri Ramcharitmanas of Goswami Tulsidas, there is this dialogue between Kagbhushund and Garud. Kagbhushund, a liberated being, he attained what is called Dehmukti, freedom while embodied. As we say, in the world but not of the world. Garuji was one who was overpowered by the Lord's delusive potency, and he was advised to speak with Kagbhushund, who would remove the power that affected Kagbhushund, Garuji, that Maya, to remove that Maya. Kagbhushund in various ways related the glories of the Lord, Sri Ram Maryada Purushottam. And he emphasized that the most important thing of all is for a person to become a devotee of the Lord, to attain that devotion to the Lord, Ram Bhakti. Nothing else matters. Everything else is fickle and fey. Devotion to the Lord is of essence. And here, he is making certain comments to Garuji. We listen. विरति छह मय से ज्ञान मद लोभ मोह ऋतुमारी जय पाई सोई हरि भगति देखु खगेश विचार सिया पति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम। कागभूषण जी बोले, हे खगेश, विचार कर देखो कि जिन्होंने वैराग्य रूपी ढाल, ज्ञान रूपी तलवार से मद लोभ मोह रूपी शत्रुओं को मारकर हरि भक्ति रूपी जय को प्राप्त किया है, वे ही श्री राम के भक्त है। Who is a devotee of the Lord? Whether that form we choose is Sri Ram, whether it is Shankar Bhagwan, wherever it is Devi, whichever form, there is one God. Who is a devotee of God? What kind of attitude does he display? How he functions? The devotee of that divine master, what he has as a shield to protect him against all negativities is vairagya, this passion. Without this passion, there can be no perfection. Devotion doesn't come. So the devotee of the Lord would have this shield of vairagya, this passion. And he would have the sword of Gyan, Gyan Rupi Talwar. Gyan, wisdom. Not just knowledge, wisdom. Wisdom is compared to a sword. So this devotee of God is well armed with a shield and a sword. The shield of this passion, the sword of Gyan, wisdom. And who are the enemies he has to fight against? Many of us may think that we have enemies, neighbor is an enemy, that one is an enemy. The biggest enemies we have are inside. And who are these enemies? Three main enemies. Mad, lobh or moh. Abhiman, false pride. Vanity. Greed. And ignorance, delusion. According to Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Mahapuran also says the same thing. These three like three gateways to hell. Three gateways to suffering and destruction. If one cannot get rid of these three, one cannot be a devotee. Devotions would not come. So here, Kagbhushund is saying, O Garuji, using the sword of Gyan, protecting oneself with the shield of this passion, destroying, as it were, the enemies of greed, pride, and the ignorance, delusion, one gains victory. What victory? Hari Bhakti Rupi Jai ko प्राप्त किया है. Victory in the form of devotion to God. Victory in the form of devotions to God. So what we see here, that there is no way that a person can really have that devotion. If you are overpowered by pride, false pride, you are overpowered by greed, overpowered by ignorance, devotion just would not come. Just would not come. And therefore we need to develop vairagya, dispassion. We need to develop gyan. So it's easy to say we need to develop dispassion and wisdom, but how do we do it? In the very same Ramayana of Goswami Tulsidas ji, it's written, Dharmate virati, yogate jnana, jnana moksha pad ved bakhana. Dharmate virati. How do I develop vairagya, virati, dispassion? Dispassion comes out of dharma. Dharmate virati. And what is dharma? We have maintained time and again, it is the inmost constitution by which a person is supposed to live. Each person fits into society in various capacities. We have various duties, responsibilities, obligations to carry out. The sum total happens to be our dharma. By maintaining one's dharma efficiently, to the best, out of that practice, virati comes, dispassion. You can't just develop dispassion. It's something you have to work for. You have to work for. And it comes through dharma. Everything is here already for us, It's just to do it. Life is a doing thing, not a talking thing. So dharmate virati. Yogate jnana. Yoga is deep concentration. Yes, you perform all your karmas and so on. Coming hand in hand with that is yoga. What is yoga really? Yoga, it is said, is not in the sky, not anywhere. Yoga is that union between Atma and Paramatma, between the individual and the Supreme, between microcosm and macrocosm. That is yoga. Understanding that bond between these two. Out of that comes Gyan. And Gyan is what brings us freedom from bondage. Freedom from bondage. So here, Kagbhushan is saying, Guruji, Hari Bhakti is everything. Devotion to God. Life is nothing but an empty dream unless one realizes the Supreme. There is emptiness. See, Ram himself told Shivari, Jati Patikul Dharm Barai. You could be Mr. Who. You could have what. You could belong to what lineage. You could have what power. Whatever it may be. But you are nothing to me unless you have bhakti. Unless you have devotion, sincere devotions. And devotees, we are all aspiring devotees. I don't want to be judgmental to say that nobody has devotions. I'm speaking about pure devotions. We are still fighting for it. Maybe there are those who have it, I don't know. But without that bhakti, we are nothing. We are absolutely nothing in the eyes of the Lord, that Supreme Purush. And Kagbhushan is making that point here. And he's telling us what we need to do to reach to that point. So, devotees, we go through various actions in life and we live in a comfort zone and we think we are okay. But I keep saying, if you don't know where you are going, how do you know when you have reached? And you have to see the signposts along the pathway to know where you are going. So along the path of devotion, vairagya is important. That is dispassion. Gyan is important. Gyan and vairagya, very, very important. Very, very important. You have that shield to protect you in the form of vairagya and the sword to defend you in the form of gyan. And we have to fight against the enemy of false pride, vanity, greed, and ignorance. By so doing, victory is going to come to us in the form of bhakti. Kagbhushan ji said, Garud, bear this point in mind. There is nothing like devotions to God. And when there is an absence of devotion, then one is contaminated by Maya. For Maya and Bhakti, they fight each other, so to speak. But it's not really a fight. Where Maya is, Bhakti would never come. And where there's Bhakti, Maya cannot come. Maya cannot come. Notice the difference. Where there is Maya, Bhakti would not go. Bhakti would not go. And where there is Bhakti, Maya cannot go. There's a big, big difference here. So without Bhakti, without devotions, life is empty. Very, very empty. And therefore it is the duty of every single person. You want to find some fulfillment, some peace, some joy, some ecstasy in life? Bhakti is the way. Devotions. Devotions, sincere devotions. You have to attain to that. And may I say that Bhakti is the culmination. You know, when you have God's grace, Bhakti comes into our lives. Guruji listened and he understood. And then he asked certain questions. 7 questions he asked. But I'll just look at maybe 2, 3 in brief. He said, O Holy One, O one of deep intellect, He Swamin Mati Dhir, Bara Dukha Kavana Kavana Sukha Bhari. What is the greatest unhappiness that there is? Everybody talk about being unhappy. I am unhappy, I'm unhappy. What is the greatest unhappiness? And what is the greatest happiness? And I also want you to point out to me, Sant asant marm tum janahu, tinkar sahaj subhav bakhanahu. You know the qualities of the saint and of the wicked one, the dusht. Explain to me the differences between them. We will just look at the first 3. Here in this chaupai, Kag Bhushund is answering Guruji. Lessons for all of us devotees. He's saying,
नहीं दरिद्र सम दुख जग माही संत मिलन सम सुख कछु नाही पर उपकार रामा पर उपकार बचन मन काय संत सहज स्वभाव खग रहय जय राम श्री रामा जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम राम जय जय सीता राम जय जय राम
Nahi daridra sama dukha jagmahi. Many of us will think that there are different forms of unhappiness. Many of us, little things cause us unhappiness. But Kag Bhushund is of the view that there is no greater unhappiness in this whole world than that of poverty. Nahi daridra sama dukha jagmahi. Now when we speak of poverty, automatically the mind runs on money, house, land, these material possessions. Yes. There are 2 types of wealth, material and spiritual. So, to not to possess wealth, one is poor. And in that poverty, you can't fulfill the basic needs, the hierarchy of needs. We have various problems. The life of a poor person is really, really a very, very depressed life. And there are many, many living such lives of unhappiness worldwide. Some don't know where the next meal is going to come from. And we have been seeing in society, think about it, many are looking into garbage bags for the next meal. Think that we reject, they are looking for meals in those garbage bags. Think about it. Isn't that the greatest unhappiness you can ever think about? What else again is unhappiness? Now, a person could have all material wealth also. And we will say, okay, I'm happy. But there are many also who possess the world of wealth, as we say, but still unhappy. And why? Because the other type of wealth that they're supposed to have, they do not have it. They are poor. And I mean spiritually. So it is not only to be wealthy materially. As the saying goes, a fool and his purse are soon parted. A fool and his purse are soon parted. If there isn't the special dharma or the ethical value system in place to control wealth, we become a victim. We become a victim. We can self-destruct. And in the final analysis, as we keep saying time and again, nobody carries anything with them. Nobody. Even the body we can't carry with us. We leave it behind. And I keep saying, yet still people fight for all these things. Greed. Greed for more material things. The more we get, the more we want. There is more want than need. And more greed than need. Yet, at the end of it all, these things do nothing for us. They create further unhappiness. So that material wealth alone is not happiness. And my focus will be on spiritual wealth. We are poor unless we are spiritually wealthy. And as was mentioned time and again, there are 6 forms of spiritual wealth which we all need to acquire. And they are spiritual wealth, nothing tangible. Tranquility of mind, serenity, control of senses, endurance, faith, and renunciation of selfish actions and desires. These are the 6 forms of spiritual wealth, as represented by Hindu theology, Lakshmi Mata. Lakshmi Mata. So there is materialism and there is spirituality. But what we need is not pure spirituality only when we live in a material world, nor pure materialism, the absence of spirituality. We need a combination of the two. And again, Hindu symbolism, Lakshmi Mata is said to be goddess of wealth. Isn't that so? And we say her color is pink. Pink. Pink in color. Her color is pink. When we do pujas and so on, we use the color pink. Why? Pink is a combination of red and white. Red is materialism, rajasic prakriti. So the red symbolizes the material wealth, and the white symbolizes spiritual wealth. So there is a combination of two, pink. This is what we need, that balance of material and spiritual. At the end of it all, what we really carry, if you have to carry anything at all, is the spiritual wealth. Wherever we go, wherever we are embodied or re-embodied, it is a spiritual wealth, those qualities that stay with us, the material things you leave behind. And no matter how much we say this, the fight is still on for material things. The cravings are there. It's a never-ending craving. And you know, many of us, we do havan. Isn't that so? When you pour ghee into fire, what happens to the fire? It lights up more. I see many of you don't do havan. When you pour ghee into fire, you get a bigger flame. And this is what is. You see, desires, the more you try to fulfill them, the more they grow. From one desire, extend to 10. I want a job. After a job, I want to get a good wife. After a wife, I want to get a car. After I get a car, I want to get someone to put in the car. And so I go on and on. One to the next, to the next, to the next, and we keep going on and on. And this is the direction we go on. We are lost. Now what I'm saying is that we need material wealth, but it must be controlled by spiritual wealth. And everybody has to work hard. Wealth shouldn't come through stealing, as many people do today. It's easy to hold up somebody, take away their money. You're going to lose all that in time to come. When you work hard for what you get, it's yours. And you can't lose it. It becomes beneficial. The old people have a term. They call it barakat. When you work hard for that 10 cents of yours, it goes a longer way than the $100 you steal. Get me clear? It goes a longer way than all you get through unprincipled means. Mark my words. And society today, everybody wants to get it easy. Outsmart this one, outsmart that one. I have plenty, I make plenty. You will not enjoy it. When you sweat for what is yours, that 10 cents that I said, notice, that 10 cents will be of more value to you than $100 that you may get through unprincipled means. Decide for yourselves. There is nothing like sincerely working, genuinely working for what is yours. Nobody could take it away from you. The old people tell us that has barakat. Barakat means it extends. It goes a longer way. It stretches to satisfy all your needs. Pay attention to this, devotees. It's a spiritual thing. You see, most of us look at quantity. I have plenty. But the quality of it, means through which it's obtained, all these things we don't pay attention to. And all these things affect the so-called wealth that we have. So-called wealth that we have. Many people gamble. They win big. That money is blight money. Blight money. It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay. They're going to lose more in the long run. Our scriptures tell us all this. All scriptures tell you that. So we are saying wealth, yes, but not at any cost. Not at any cost. So people must work hard, work sincerely, accumulate. And don't be slaves to your wealth. Be masters of it. But remember, spiritual wealth is important. It is more important than the material wealth. It prevents you from self-destructing. So here, Karabhushan is saying, no greater unhappiness than poverty. But yet, I add to it that wealth accumulated by unprincipled means will also cause a great unhappiness to you. Make sure everything is done by principle. He's saying, oh Garud, no greater joy than coming into contact with a holy man. A genuine holy man. One who has the spiritual capacity to remove your distresses, burn away your karmas to free you. Coming into contact with a holy person, absolutely no losses, is a great joy. Their blessings can take us a long way. And he's saying, you know what? Holy people, sant, what kind of disposition they possess? What kind of disposition? What is their attitude? One of the qualities of a genuine holy person, para upakar, bachan manakaya, in mind, word and deed, that person performs service to others. You cannot have a saint who is selfish. If you have a so-called man who calls himself a saint and he's selfish, he's not a saint. He is not a saint. Saintly people, they're always serving others. Life is like a flower in full bloom. They stand by this. We should give it away, petals, scent, and all to that gardener who brought it into existence. Devotees, the dusht, the wicked one, and the holy one, they are compared to two different trees. One is the hemp, and one is that tree that, you know, the bhojpatra. The bhojpatra, they skin out the bark of it, but they make clothing to cover the faults of others. This, Karabhushan is saying, is how the holy man is, like the bhojpatra. He does everything to preserve others, satisfy others. He doesn't expose others' faults to drag them down. Whereas if you look at the hemp, you know what they make with that? They take it and make rope, and that binds others. The dusht is like the wicked one. He always puts others in bondage. Whereas the saint is one who protects others. He serves society. He serves society dispassionately. Mind, word, and deed. No expectation. So, we have to analyze. Look into the mirror. Am I a saint? or am I a dusht? Do I try to help others dispassionately without expectation of rewards? Or am I like that hemp, that rope, that dusht, putting others in bondage? We must look into the mirror and see who we are and what are we? What are we? Always better to be a saint than a dusht. May the blessings of the divine be showered upon all. Boliye Shri Raja Ramachandra ki.
Om Jai Swaha Mata Maya Jai Swaha Mata Tum Agni ki Shakti Tum Agni ki Shakti Tum Sachi Mata